The perfect album playthrough is when you can listen to something from beginning to end without skipping a second of music. So it hurts when a great album has one track that just ruins the experience. This is a look at 10 bad songs on great albums. Having that one random song that feels out of place and doesn't work on an album at all happens a lot, and even the biggest bands and artists are not immune to it. A few weeks back I looked at 10 good songs on bad albums. Well, it's time to do the reverse and see what songs aren't needed on amazing LPs. This is not a top 10, it's not a ranking, it's just a list. Also, only one bad per entry to add variety. This list will surely get some anger from people, but at least hear me out on what I have to say. You know how this concept works, you know how list videos work. No need to waste time, let's get to it. Trent Reznor truly is one of the most creative musicians of our generation and has succeeded in music, TV, film, pretty much whatever he jumps into. In the 90s, Nine Inch Nails became a household name with help from Downward Spiral, which still is iconic. But on an album known for going over the top comes a song like Big Man with a Gun, just to point out the gun-loving rednecks. Let's be honest, that's exactly what this song is trying to get across as well. The lyrics are vulgar. And I mean, yeah, it's a Nine Inch Nails mid-90s song, what do you expect? It's the shortest track on the album by a long shot. Big Man with a Gun gets a point across, but the music itself isn't anything that hasn't already been done on the Downward Spiral. The track doesn't really add much, though I will say everyone in the US has come across that Confederate flag-waving good old boy who loves his guns way too much, and is probably overcompensating for something small because it makes him feel bigger in some way. Just to be clear, not everyone who owns a gun is a redneck with a micropenis. But every redneck with a micropenis definitely owns a gun. The Downward Spiral is one of the most important albums in rock and industrial for the 90s and paramount for everything Nine Inch Nails. But on an album filled with instantly memorable songs comes the vulgar, violent Big Man with a Gun. Going back to the 80s, the Police were as big as they could have ever dreamed, and on 1983's Synchronicity is a single blemish that completely overshadows some great music on an album. On the first half of that album, just when you were getting into the meat and potatoes of what Synchronicity has, in comes Mother. This was one of the Police songs not written by Sting, by the way. Pretty sure he's happy about that too, as he has someone else to blame. Guitarist Andy Summers wrote Mother and is pretty horrifying in ways when you hear him on this song singing about Mother with some awkward guitar rhythms and keys. Mother was described as a gonzo moment on Synchronicity. Call it whatever you want, but any song that has the line, "Well, every girl I go out with becomes my mother in the end," really needs to be thought out more before putting onto an album. I like when a singer works with the rest of the band to write the music on an album, but Sting could have used some kind of veto power or something on this one. I mean, I guess it makes him look better as a songwriter. When that cymbal hit comes in at the end of the track, it's the sound of mercy because whatever nonsense just happened is finally over and the actual album continues. I know this track isn't the reason the Police disbanded after the album, but I like to imagine it is because wow, it's that bad.
Well, every girl that I go out with becomes my mother in the end.
Blink-182 exploded in the days of TRL on MTV and were one of the few pop-punk bands to really stand out in all the other genres being covered on the former Music Network. Enema of the State definitely was a game changer and inspiration for other music fans everywhere, so I know I'll be upsetting some people when I say All the Small Things is flat out dumb. Seriously, All the Small Things doesn't hold a candle to anything else on the album. If Kids Bop ever had the perfect song to cover, it's All the Small Things. I've already given my thoughts on the overuse of na-nas as legit lyrics in a song, but as for creativity and writing and music, this is high school talent show week. All the Small Things was meant to be a catchy basic single for radio. Literally, that's what the band said about it. After something great like What's My Age Again, which is dumb but so much better musically and creatively, after that you get All the Small Things. Lame. Tom DeLonge wrote it about his at the time girlfriend. This song is the best you could come up with when writing about your girlfriend? Sheesh. All the Small Things sounds like a bunch of kids open strumming on instruments and singing na-nas because it's catchy. It might be catchy, but it also makes you a little dumber when listening to it. Megadeth has not been a band to shy away from writing about dark topics. War, genocide, corporate greed, you name it. Dave Mustaine is an opinionated fellow. On 1994's Euthanasia, I think Dave and the rest of the band tried to make a song to point light of a dark topic and really went about it the wrong way. Sweet mercy. Family Tree is 100% about rape and incest. Yeah, Dave Mustaine trying to set up the mood for something like this to a bass line by David Ellefson is not the tone when trying to sing about a father molesting a son. Not gonna flash any lyrics on the screen on this one, forget that. On top of the song's lyrics and meaning though, this is as basic bare bones as it gets from a band who are known for thrash and shredding. But on Euthanasia, they tried to get a point across and provoke some thought on something terrible. And it didn't work. Dave Mustaine is a legendary guitarist, but sometimes when he tries to get a point across, it does not work at all. Especially when he's trying to get a little descriptive. Oh, Dave, what are you doing? Outside of a decent guitar solo and bass work, the music writing is stock, and David sounds awkward over the bass line. Breaking down the lyrics and how they are all trying to get a point across makes things worse. Family Tree brings Euthanasia to a screeching halt. Paramore have been through quite a few changes in their career, and when Hayley Williams isn't dyeing her hair, she's reinventing and trying to continue music, and to be honest, on 2017's After Laughter, she did a great job, even though Paramore is pretty much just Hayley Moore now, as so many band members have left. However, No Friend, co-written and performed with Me Without You's Aaron Weiss, is an anomaly near the end of After Laughter. Lyrically, it's actually well written, but to take it in, the music greatly deters from the rest of the album for a looped guitar rhythm and keyboard notes. It's extremely disjointed to hear. It also doesn't help that the vocals are really muffled and intentionally distant behind the electronic drum track. Trying to make everything out takes some serious patience and several playthroughs, which kills any potential enjoyment. After Laughter works so well because it's so bright and vibrant while relishing in hard times and bad feelings, but No Friend takes you out of that experience completely. I'm not even sure this would work as a B-side because No Friend is just noise after a while. Loud, looped, electronic, bad pop rock noise. Then again, there's that audience that will buy anything Hayley Williams makes, so what do I know? Hayley and Paramore made a solid album with After Laughter, even if different from past Paramore works, but when a song goes too far away from the rest of the album's style, it can ruin the experience, even near the end of the album. When you can scrap a song and it makes the album better overall, that speaks volumes to the quality of the song itself. Back in the late 90s, Filter was on a roll. A killer debut from Richard Patrick and Company with Short Bus, and then went past rock radio and hit full mainstream with 1999's Title of Record. There were several big hits from the album, but on Title of Record was a bit of cringe even by 99 standards. Cancer, yeah, that's the name of the song, revels in the world being a miserable pit, and nihilism is all that matters, and what seems important won't last forever, and everything ends up dying. On top of that, we get lines like, "I am a cancer" being whispered, followed by "I am humanity" being shouted. Man, that is some self-loathing and misery. The music itself really isn't that exciting either, which also adds to it. Fun fact, Darcy from the Smashing Pumpkins actually did some vocals on the track. You brought in Darcy just to sing "Hey My Children, What Seems Important Won't Last Forever." I love Filter's early albums, but I would never say they are perfect. There's always one or two tracks on each album that make you tuck your collar or scratch your head, and this is definitely one of them. Also, you brought in a great musician just to sing that. Ugh. Title of Record is unfortunately becoming one of those rock albums lost in time, and really is a shame because there is excellent music on it and variety in sound. But when you have a song like Cancer on it, it's hard to argue that at least some of the album should be left behind. I feel that once Radiohead went into full experimental style in the 2000s and didn't look back, they proved that they can create absolutely breathtaking and mesmerizing albums that feel complete. In 2000's Kid A, they proved they know how to make something personal and emotional while embracing change in an electronic direction. There is one song, however, that really drags, and it's in the first few minutes. The title track to Kid A has a good opening with high keynotes coming in softly, but everything drags on sluggishly to the point of screaming, "Get on with it!" before getting into the meat and potatoes of the album, like the national anthem and other amazing songs later on, the robotic vocals don't add anything significant. It's difficult to engage with anything through almost 5 minutes, and on such an emotional album about life, it's hard to feel any emotion. Kid A, the album, has so many amazing moments showcasing what music the band can create in many different ways. The title track does not do that. Over 4.5 minutes of not much. This is honestly one of those moments on an album where I just wish they would have done anything different or scrapped it completely, because Kid A is a masterpiece, but this song just doesn't contribute. I love the album Kid A and everything it accomplishes through lyric meaning, music writing, and thinking outside the box. On the title track, however, they spend way too much time playing Robot in Limbo, when they should have been moving on to the song In Limbo. I love Pixies, and while their original material wasn't as appreciated in their own time like it should have been, they became so big after the fact that I think everyone realized just how great the band was. Off of the band's second album, Doolittle, from 1989, yeah, Pixies go back that far, comes one song that really makes you scratch your head when you hear it the first time on the album. Lala Love You starts well enough with great drums and a good groove in the lead guitar, but then it turns into a glorified sitcom soundtrack, or at least a TV show backtrack or something. Drummer David Lovering actually did vocals on this track, and I mean, that's fine. This isn't really a difficult song to sing, so why not? It's a Ringo moment for sure. Let the drummer have some fun. What harm could it do besides to make a joke of an amazing album? The track is also meant as a joke on love songs. I mean, I like that idea, but they could have done more than I love you, I love you, I love you, shake your butt, and that whistling part. Yeah! No! Come on, no! That's something you hear on Mad TV in the background right before a big guy slips on a banana peel in front of a pretty girl or something. No! Pixies are great, but this is dumb. Pixies have an odd career, and the band is still going today. Their live shows are a blast, and for some reason they still include La La Love You in their set list. I will never understand why. Maybe because they think it's funny. Well, whatever. Shake your butt. I know there will be several butthurt Linkin Park fans commenting now, but hear me out first. I was the kid with the Linkin Park poster in his junior high bedroom, and Hybrid Theory was vital to the rock scene to stand out as something different, as transcending genres in an ever-growing world of music. One of the biggest songs that came out of Hybrid Theory, however, might be the one that's aged the worst. Crawling was certified gold as a single, won a Grammy, and is a little bit cringe when you hear the lyrics. The chorus line of "crawling in my skin, these wounds they will not heal," and Chester screaming, confusing what is real. These lyric lines might have been the catalyst for millions of teenagers to be sad as a proud unifying statement. And fashion statement, oddly enough. The song is right in the center of Hybrid Theory, and it greatly interrupts the flow of the rap rock and nu metal sound Linkin Park helped pioneer. Seriously, it comes right after Points of Authority, a killer song, just to lead into crying in the bathtub with Crawling. I love Linkin Park, but there's not a doubt in my mind that people go easy on this song in hindsight because it's Linkin Park. If a band would have released something like this in 2020, regardless of who they were, it would have gotten the biggest eye roll imaginable from just about everyone. Musically, it doesn't hold a candle to the rest of Hybrid Theory. Lyrically, it's live journal writings from a 15-year-old. Yeah, Hybrid Theory is a classic, but if there's one song worth skipping, it's Crawling. Before we get to the final entry, please hit the like button below if you've enjoyed this video so far. It helps a ton to get this video pushed in YouTube algorithms and gets shown to people who aren't subscribed. Thank you. Alright, time for the track that everyone has an opinion on. There is no way I could not include Revolution 9 on this list and keep a clean conscience. This song or track, whatever you want to call it, really is the epitome of ruining a perfect beginning to end playthrough on an album. The White Album is in my mind one of the most important albums, or double albums technically, in music history. On that album is this. It's nonsense. It's different for the sake of being different, not to be music at all. Over 8 minutes of random, untethered insanity. It's a cross between changing stations on a radio dial and drugs. There's no nice way to say it. It's just drugs. Revolution 9 is labeled as a sound collage and avant-garde. John Lennon convinced the rest of the band that this is something worth including. It was defined as a true song by Lennon and the Beatles back in the 60s, so Yeah, counts as a song. George Harrison does the guitar loops, and both John and George do vocals on it. Lennon described Revolution 9 as an unconscious picture of what I actually think is happening when it happens, just like a drawing of revolution.
What?
The Beatles are arguably the most influential band of all time and have a world of talent. I know I shouldn't argue with creative geniuses either, but come on. I don't care how experimental and different you were trying to be. This is bad. The White Album is a masterpiece, but I think most people can agree not everything on it is perfect, or belongs on a double album at all, or should even exist. That latter part really applies to Revolution 9. Sweet mercy, John Lennon. What was going through your brain? Finding that perfect album you can play from beginning to end is a rare treat, but sometimes there is one track that ruins the experience. If ever there was a track worth skipping on an album, it's Revolution 9.
Number 9, number 9, number 9.
And that was a look at 10 bad songs on great albums. Know of any other bad songs on great albums? Leave a comment and let everyone know. Big thanks to my patrons and a special thanks to Brandon Barenfield, Chris Doman, and Dom Smith. You can help support Rocked and have a say in upcoming videos on Patreon. Just $2 a month goes a long way, and you can get perks like voting on album reviews and seeing videos early. Click on the link in the video description for more info. Please subscribe to get notified on upcoming videos. You can check out my concert photography on Instagram, and you can keep up to date with Rocked on Facebook and Twitter.